Hello, welcome to episode 56 of Fluffy Fibres, the French podcast in English on sewing, knitting and spinning a handmade wardrobe from head to toe. Hello everyone, my name is Isabelle and I am coming to you as always from Montpellier in southern France. Today is the last Saturday of January and I don't usually record podcasts on Saturdays, but I really didn't have time. I haven't had time, during my work weeks over the past few weeks to record, and so my son is napping, my 18-month son is napping, my daughter is playing with her dad, and so I'm just stealing an hour or so to chat a little bit with you today. And today we're going to talk about sewing, and so I'm very hopeful to have a knitting episode soon as well. So today's episode will include my cup of tea, events, and then I'm going to share what I've been sewing, and then I would like to share my sewing plans for 2018 and to elaborate a bit on what I posted on Instagram at the very end of 2017 in this regard. And yes, I've been meaning to record this episode again, as I was saying, for 3 weeks really, and it just hasn't happened because I've been so very busy, and life has happened as it tends to do. So yes. So before I start, I would just like to wish all of you a very happy new year. I do hope you will all be very healthy this year, because without health we really can't do much else, can we? And I really hope this year will be very fulfilling for all of us, and especially of course in terms of our creative endeavours. And yes, I always feel though that because we are creators, we are crafters, makers, no matter how very, very bad a year can go, we know we always will have this to fall back on and to find serenity in and to find happiness in. So I think it's quite a wonderful thing that we have, really, to know that no matter what, we will always find joy in our making. That's very, very much the case for me anyway, but I know it's the case for a lot of you as well. So for my cup of tea today, I'm having a cup of the Love brand, Love Organic brand, which is a French brand of organic teas, and this is the Love is Beautiful blend that they have, and I think it's one of their most popular blends. It's a very balanced, very delicate combination of rooibos, white tea, green tea, and then some fruit. So you have apricot, peach, pineapple and mango, I believe. I forgot to bring up the box with me, but yes, my local tea shop was having a sale on these, and so I got a box, and I just simply have been going through the box very steadily over the through the month, and it's really a very, very lovely blend. So yes, in terms of my events, I just wanted to mention, even though this is going to be a sewing episode, I did want to mention that again I'm going to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and it's in about 6 weeks now, which is a little bit crazy. And I was very, very fortunate to have been picked as one of the podcasters for the Podcaster Lounge, which is organised by Louise of Knit British and is sponsored by Blacker Yarns. And so what this means is this is going to be a place where everyone can come, obviously, and where podcasters would be just, you can just meet the podcasters that you enjoy watching or listening to, and so yeah, it's just a lovely place that Blacker Yarns has set up for us, thanks to the organisers of the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, of course, Joe and Micah. So it's just a lovely place to take a breath take a break from all your shopping, and just really enjoy one another, because I think a lot of us are going to this kind of event, and especially the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. We're going there, before all to meet friends and to have lovely conversations and to meet with each other in person. So I'm very, very honoured and really super excited. I just can't believe all the wonderful podcasters that were invited this year. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but it's just an amazing list. I know pretty much all of the podcasters on this list, and I just adore them. So it's going to be quite an incredible experience, really. So yes, that's it for events, but I'm really super excited and very honoured to be part of the event. Not just as an attendant, but also in some way to be participating in the fun, really. So thank you so much to Louise and Micah and Joe for having me on board, and of course thank you very much to Blacker Yarns for sponsoring this. I adore Blacker Yarns, and they're one of my absolute favourite companies of yarn, so it's just completely wonderful that they're doing this, and I just can't wait to meet them all. So now I'm going to move on to my sewing projects, what I've been sewing for quite a while actually, because I haven't recorded a sewing episode in quite a while now. So I don't have a lot of projects, but for some reason, as you will see, it's just a blue symphony today of projects. And yes, I don't have many projects, but one of them, as you already know, has taken a lot of time to make. So obviously that's one reason. The other reason really is that, as I think I mentioned that last time I recorded, but I just went through a bit of a sewing slump really, or sewing break after making this coat, because I was a bit, I think, burnt out from making it really, and also really tired and busy. And when I'm really busy, sewing always takes the back burner, because you can knit in the evening before going to sleep, but I can't really, when I'm really exhausted, I can't really go and sew, so yes. So I'm going to go in chronological order, and so to start with this little number, which is the Elle blouse by Sew Over It. And so I think I mentioned it in a previous podcast, as a future project that I would make, and I wasn't quite sure about it because of the large print. And so I made this in a cotton and silk voile, which is really lovely actually. And so as you can see, this is a wrap blouse with these little lovely little details everywhere really. You have the actual front that is folded down to create the facing, so it's a continuous facing. You have lovely pleats where the tie meets the front. I'm sorry, my daughter is just downstairs chatting away, so I hope it won't be too distracting for you. It is a little bit distracting for me, I have to say, but that's completely okay. So yes, so yeah, it's a lovely little thing really, this. It's going to be lovely for spring. It's completely sheer. So I have been wearing it with a tank top underneath. And you have some pleats details to give it a bit of shape at the back as well, and at the front, at the bust. And the sleeves are quarter length sleeves. And so it's so funny because all through making this, I was really hesitant about it. I almost didn't finish it actually. I just had a lot of qualms about it. I don't know, about the print, also the sheerness of the fabric, pretty much everything. And it's the sleeves, it's a kimono style wrap blouse. So the sleeves are continuous with the bodice. And that can be a very hit or miss, I've found in the past. For instance, Girando have an Arum dress that is built like this, and that was a complete failure for me. It's one of those rare projects that I actually chucked into the dustbin. I just couldn't see how I could salvage it really. But I think because the fabric is so very drapey and light, it actually works really well with this. So I actually really enjoy wearing this. It's not revealing at all. It's a lot less low cut than this actually. it really wraps quite high, so it's perfectly work appropriate. So that is perfect for me. It's really neat with you know, black trousers. So actually I really like it. I'm really glad I you know, persevered and finished it. And because the fabric is sheer, I made French seams for the side seams. So yes, not sure how well that will be captured on screen, but yeah. So I think if you didn't make French seams, if you just serge everything, I think it would be really fast to make actually. But I really like it. I think it's got such lovely finishing details everywhere, and so in the end you really have a lovely special little garment for transitional weather. So I actually would very much recommend it if you're into this kind of style. That is completely my style. Again, I've said it again and again, but Sew Over It patterns are just perfectly in keeping with what I enjoy in garments, what I enjoy wearing, because they're very elegant and very work appropriate, but at the same time you have a bit of originality in it, a bit of, you know, so it's a bit different really. So I really love them, and also love that all of their patterns, pretty much, almost all, not all, the Nancy dress isn't for instance, but a lot of their patterns are very defined at the waist, and that's very much something that I like wearing as well. So yes, that's my first finished project. The second one, of course, is the Cascade duffle coat. And so I'm going to bring it forward for you to see it better. Here is the beast. So yes, I posted about this a couple of times on Instagram, and I also devoted a very lengthy blog post to this project, because it took me a lot of time. There's a lot of details, and I think people who are considering making this coat may find it helpful anyway. And there are loads and loads of pictures of me wearing it in there. So the Cascade duffle coat is, so first of all I wanted to say, duffle coats, you know, usually tend to be quite casual outerwear, right? But I wanted the style, I wanted the lines of the Cascade duffle coat really, and a lot of the details in this, the hood or the toggles, this kind of thing. And also I just loved the very detailed, you know, the huge attention to detail that there is in this pattern. But I wanted it to be less casual, because I just don't wear a lot of casual clothes, I have to say, even on weekends. I mean, I do wear loungewear at home, but when you know, if I go out, I just want to wear, I just feel myself in more elegant clothing. And so the very few alterations that I did really, or you know, the decisions I made in terms of materials, really do reflect the fact that I wanted to just, you know, make this into a more elegant piece of outerwear. So the materials first, I think they play the biggest role in this, and I think that is true of pretty much anything in sewing. Depending on the material you will choose, your garment can have a very casual feel or a much more formal feel. And so here I picked a boiled wool, 100% wool, and I just completely adore this very deep, vibrant blue. I think it's not quite as vibrant on the screen, at least not in my tiny little screen here. Maybe in, you know, on the actual video it'll be alright, but it's quite vibrant. The colours on my Instagram pictures or my blog pictures are quite true to life. And yeah, and I decided to pair this vibrant blue with black for, you know, I just love this combination of, you know, true black and stark black and this vibrant blue. I just completely love this. And so you have 3 toggle buttons for the closure, And so you have this band, this front band for extra warmth, but then you have also a zipper band, which also, of course, adds some extra warmth. And so the zipper bands are cut, well, you can cut them in whatever fabric you want. I decided to go with this black, which is not my lining, it's another fabric. It's actually double knit fabric that is very warm, it's also wool, and very stable as well, so don't be alarmed by the fact that this is knit fabric, it's actually quite hardly stretchy at all. And I picked a silver zipper because I also love, I think to me it just went with the blue and black, I just wanted some silver fastenings for this. And I'm more of a silver girl anyway. And so once you unzip it, you have another band here that keeps it really extra warm. So, you know, if you live in a very windy climate, which is definitely the case here in Montpellier in the winter, it's very, very windy. And so people visiting who expect really warm weather are very surprised about this, because we do have gorgeous sunshine like today, and the sun is really warm, so that's really lovely. But when it's windy, and the wind usually comes from the northern mountains, you can smell the ice and feel the ice in the wind. So it can be quite unexpectedly cold, really. So this is a lovely windbreaker, really, this technique. And so yes, yeah, I still have my wedding dress underneath because I just feel, you know, my wedding was 10 years ago and I haven't seen this dress in many years, and I just felt like it deserved to be on display for a few months, really, instead of just sleeping in a closet, you know. And so, yes, my lining is, I hope you can see this well, okay. My lining is some black viscose, which is really lovely because it has this paisley detail on it. Okay. It's got this paisley motif that is not printed but woven into it, really. I hope you can see this. And I really, really love it. And for the hood, I picked the same fabric as the zipper bands, which is this cozy wool double knit fabric, because I didn't want the lining for the hood. I just felt that would be weird, and I didn't want to use this very thick wool because it would have meant a lot of layers of wool in the hood, and I think it would have been too bulky. But I really like it this way. Also, I didn't want to use viscose or anything like that because I didn't want any risk of static electricity, you know, against the hair. It's quite awful, isn't it, in the winter? So yes, so the wool is really lovely for this. You don't get static electricity with wool, so that's really nice. So yes, and so as you can see, what is incredible about this coat is all the facings that it has. So you have this facing here, even the hood has facings. Then you have, of course, the facings between the coat and the lining. And you even have facings at the hem. And so this, and you even have facings at the sleeves, actually. Let me show you this. That is, I had never seen that ever before. But you have, of course, the sleeves are lined as well. And so you have facings as well, so that you're quite sure that the lining won't be peeking out of the sleeve. And I'd never seen that. I have made a few coats in the past, but I had never seen this before. And it's just a really lovely touch. And so, okay, let me put this back onto the dress form. And so, of course, all these facings are the reasons why there are so many pieces so many pattern pieces to cut out and so many pieces of fabric or interfacing to cut out, because of course you also have interfacing in a coat, and the interfacing pieces often are other pieces to cut out because the whole pattern is so well put together, and so you don't have the seam allowances in to my recollection, in the interfacing pieces, so that you don't have this extra layer to sew through. So this means I counted, and for version B, which is the one I made, which is the longer version, you also have a shorter jacket version of this, but for version B you have 45 pieces total to cut out. So of course this in itself is quite daunting. And then of course all the putting together takes quite a lot of time, especially as I really wanted this to be just as near to perfection as I could achieve. And so, for instance, I sewed the toggles by hand, and honestly, just sewing all the toggles by hand, I think it took me 3 hours. So yes, also I just wanted to dedicate this coat to all my favourite audio podcasters, because when I sew is the time when I listen to audio podcasts, and so I save them up for that time. And so I tend to listen to audio podcasts in a big batch like this, just as I tend to sew in this way. And so yes, especially this, while I was making this coat, I finally started listening to Meg's Mrs. M's Curiosity Cabinet podcast. And so for me this coat is very deeply associated with Meg, because I just listened to all of her episodes, you know, one after one other. And so yes, I have her very calming, articulate voice in my head whenever I see this coat and I put it on. So that's quite lovely actually. And also, you know, Meg is very committed to having you know, putting a lot of meaning into her making, in terms of you know, being as wasteless as possible, I think I could say. I'm sorry, I don't feel very articulate today actually, because I'm sick, I'm really tired, and I just, yeah, it's the end of the week, and so I am sorry if this podcast comes out as a little, I don't know, see? I'm at a loss for words, but yeah, if I seem a little, I don't know, less articulate than usual, I should say. So I do apologise if that is the case. But yeah, Meg was one of the podcasts that I very much enjoyed listening to whilst making this. There are others as well, and I really wouldn't want anyone to feel neglected. But yeah, that has been a wonderful discovery for me this autumn, to Meg's podcast. I had been following Meg for a while on Instagram, and so I'm not sure why I hadn't listened to her podcast before. But yeah, if you don't know her already, but I'm sure you do, I do strongly recommend you give her a listen. She does give a lot of fruitful thought. Yeah, her podcasts are very, very well put together. And actually it's made me a little nostalgic for my own audio podcast that I used to have before, because it is very different, a video and audio podcast. And for audio podcasts, you tend to prepare more, take more notes, improvise less, and there is definitely, I don't know, it's just a very different experience. But yeah, Meg's podcasts are true gems that I hugely recommend. So yes, what else did I want to tell you about this coat? Do please, if you're interested in making it, I do suggest you just go and read my blog post. I was very inspired by Tabby's coat, Tabby of the Hey Sister podcast, who is completely wonderful, and she also is an incredible seamstress, and she made that coat I think about a year ago actually, and she has beautiful pictures of it on her blog. So Tabby is Awesome Socks on Instagram, and I think her blog is Tabby Made. And yes, and the one big alteration that I did really to this coat to make it sleeker was so you normally have big patch pockets at the front, and I wanted a sleeker version. So I eliminated this, and instead I have regular, inside pockets with the black lining. So yes, so that was very easy to do. I just used, I think I used the pockets from the Deer and Doe pavot coat, which is supposed to be a jacket, but I made into a coat a few years ago with a lining, which it doesn't have in the actual pattern. I think this pattern has actually been discontinued by Deer and Doe. I think they discontinued it last year. But yeah. But I have to say that again, you know, I made a few coats. I have made a few coats in the past. I typically alternate between this one and my plantain, my pavot coat, and my a Vogue coat that I made in January of 2009 when I was in London. So it has huge memories as well, and I got the fabric from Fabrics Galore. I was living around the corner from Fabrics Galore back then. And so I got the outer shell from Fabrics Galore, and I got the lining with my friend Melissa, who is Melissa Fair, who just has a wonderful book out of sportswear. So congratulations, Melissa, if you're listening, and hi. But yeah, so the lining is this lovely silver paisley, and actually it was silk. Yeah, it was silk. We got it on Gold Hoke Road. And yeah, so, but it is also a gorgeous coat. I just love wearing it. It's super warm, but honestly, this is a whole new level of technicity, of detail. You know, for instance, all those hems, all those facings for the hems, they just make it so perfect, you know, in terms of everything is spot on. It's just incredible. In this respect, and that is all thanks to the designer, of course, who is Jen Beeman of Grainland Studio. So yes, that's definitely not the kind of pattern that to my knowledge, that nowadays you can find in the big four pattern companies. I do share some thoughts about this actually on my blog, because this pattern was not cheap, and so I share my experience with this as well, and you know. With choosing indie designers versus the big four companies and all that. Okay, before I move on to my next make, I just wanted to say, I'm afraid this video is going to have a lot of cuts because I keep coughing actually, so I keep having to pause, and obviously I'm going to take that out of the video. So yes, I do apologise, but this, yeah, I can foresee this video having a lot of, this podcast episode having a lot of cuts, unfortunately. But yeah, so my last make in this episode, which is also my first make of 2018, which is quite exciting, and of course it's another blue make, and it is the dress I'm wearing, which is Vogue 8896, and it is a wrap dress. So let me show it to you. I hope it focuses correctly, but yeah, here it is. And I haven't taken pictures of it yet, so you may be seeing a first glimpse of it here in the podcast actually, unless of course I post pictures beforehand, because it takes me a few days to edit and upload the podcast. But yes, it's a wrap dress in a cotton jersey with 3/4 sleeves, and yeah, it's I'm very glad with how it turned out actually. Yeah. The fit is really nice, and I just completely love the fabric as well. And so here is the pattern. So yes, I hadn't used a non-independent pattern for a long time, and so I'm going to actually share a bit of thoughts about this as well. But yeah, so it's labelled very easy, so Vogue 8896, and as you can see, I did make some changes, because in the versions that you have either no sleeves or short sleeves, which in itself is super weird, because, and again, you know, once you start sewing with indie designers, you takes a lot of distance from this kind of pattern. It's very strange, because the armholes are the same for the, I mean the bodice is the same, you know, no matter if you add sleeves or not. And you know, it's not right. No, normally your armholes are different, are smaller if you're not adding sleeves, so that's a bit strange. So I did change the sleeves, and I took sleeves from another pattern, a Vogue pattern. So I took the sleeves from a very well-known Vogue wrap dress pattern, which is Vogue 8379, because it does have longer sleeves. And so, yes, I think I actually did lengthen the sleeves from this, because it also has cuffs, but I didn't have enough fabric for the cuffs. So I did lengthen the sleeves just a tiny bit, because I really like them to be, you know, really 3/4 length, not just half sleeves. So yeah, in terms of the fabric requirements, I was super surprised, because I usually have loads of fabric left over, and for this it was such a hassle, you know, managing to eke out the whole dress out of my piece of fabric. Yeah, I did add some sleeves, you know, some big longer sleeves, but that wasn't really the problem. So I had a very, very hard time putting everything on it. It took me so much time just to cut out the pattern. And I'm really surprised, because usually they tend to be very generous with yardage requirements, so that they know you won't be lacking. So yeah, I don't know what happened, and I did check. I had the right yardage, which was just a little over 2 meters for my size. The size I cut out, so I'm not sure what happened really. But yeah, so if you make this, do be warned. Certainly don't go, you know, don't think, oh, it's okay, they're saying 2.2 meters, but I'm sure I can get away with 2 meters. That was certainly not the case for me. And so yeah, what I really liked about this design was the pleats at the shoulders, which reminded me of the Eve dress that by Vogue that I sewed this summer. I just like this, the way it, you know, this way of adding shape to the bust. Really, I just really like it very much. But then, if you look at the drawing here, you can see that you have these pleats on the bodice, and they seem to be you know, converging towards the tie, really, very much like my Ella blouse, you know, and I thought it was going to be the same kind of pleating, and it turns out that's not the case at all. And what they have you do is super strange. They have you gather the bodice at that point, but actually quite like from here to here, so the result was super weird, really very strange and absolutely not flattering. It just basically gave you an extra pouch that you obviously don't need. So what I did was, and honestly, when I first tried this on, I was super discouraged. I just felt it would be a wadder, this one, a complete disaster. But what I did was I just removed the gathers, and I actually did the same thing, you know, spontaneously. I just pleated it, and it's only now that I just showed you this that now, of course, it percolated from this project. But yeah, it's very much akin to the pleats you have here, you know, sort of box pleats that you have here, right? So I did the same actually. I removed the gathers, and I will be inserting the pictures so you see it better in real life. But yeah, I just added these 3 pleats here for a much more flattering effect. And so I'm happy to say that this worked really well, and so it actually looks a lot more than what you can see on the pattern envelope than what they have you actually do. So do be warned about this. I just felt that was so very strange. But apart from that, I really like it, and I think, you know, wrap dresses can be really hit or miss in terms of fit, in terms of the cleavage as well. This is just right. It is a bit low cut, and I will be wearing it to work, but I'm definitely going to wear a cami underneath to be comfortable at work. But yeah, so I definitely, in the end, that is definitely a success in terms of wrap dresses, and it's been a quest of mine to find the right wrap dress in terms of wovens and in terms of knits, and I think it's not that easy to find. I really typically mock wrap dresses are going to work well for me. I made a few of them, and I wear them a lot, but I just wanted an actual wrap dress to work on me, and so I'm very glad to say that this one, to me, is a success, and I can't wait to wear it. So yes, and the fabric is just this lovely cotton knit, which is very spring-like actually, because the birds are spring birds, aren't they? I think they're blue tits, and I can't quite remember the name of all these birds. In France they have a generic name which is mésange, but I know you have lots of different words in English for them. You know, blue tits, chickadees, warblers, all those lovely spring birds that you can see in your gardens in the spring. And also I think the flowers in it are definitely, to me, they're definitely spring blossoms, you know, from fruit trees, I think. Like apple blossom, I should say. So yes, I think this is a perfectly transitional dress from winter to spring, and I'm very excited to be wearing it, and I know we'll be wearing it a lot. And yeah, so this actually leads me to my last section of this podcast today, but it's going to be quite a lengthy one, I feel, which is my sewing plans for 2018. And I love watching other people share their sewing or knitting plans, you know, share their fabrics or their yarn and their patterns that they plan to be using. And so that's what I want to do now. And I typically don't, I think last year I definitely didn't make such elaborate plans. And also what I wanted to say are that these plans are in no way written in stone. I would have absolutely no qualms changing them, and actually I've already changed them, because of course new patterns have come out and I completely fell in love with them, and that's just life. And that's part of the joy, of course, of making, and you know, for me, all this excitement is just really very, very much part of the perks of sewing and knitting, really. And so I did share a picture on Instagram, and you know, many of us, most of us have been sharing our Make 9 projects, either in knitting or in sewing or in both. And in sewing, there was no way I could limit myself at 9. There was absolutely no way. Limiting myself at 12 was hard enough already. And so my plans rather involve 12 projects, which, to be honest, feels completely doable, because that's just one garment a month, and that's really not much. Even for me, even when I'm super busy or life gets in the way, you know, still doesn't seem like much at all. So my first one is the Juniper cardigan by Jennifer Lauren Handmade. It's a cardigan that's been very, very popular, especially during the cardigan challenge back in the autumn, which sadly I wasn't able to take part in, but I really, really like this cardigan. Secondly is Vogue 8896, which I made, so yay. Then, and I think this is going to be my next project actually, is the Clio dress, the trio dungaree dress by Tilly and the Buttons, which I completely adore, and I've been meaning to make it for a while, and it's so super. I actually already cut out the pattern, and it's just from the pattern pieces I can see it's going to be a very, very quick sew. So yes, I really look forward to making it, because I feel on the days when I definitely wouldn't wear this to work, it's quite short, but on days when I'm home, working from home, or weekends just with the children, I think this is going to be perfect, you know, with a handmade t-shirt and you know, dark tights, comfy tights. It's just going to be the perfect, you know, layer over this. Then for the spring, I very much want to make the kimono jacket by Sew Over It, which was one of the PDF releases last year, and I have the fabric for it, and let me show it to you. So I'm not sure about the fabric for the Juniper cardigan, but apart from this one actually, and that's a bit, I think some of you are going to find that a bit insane, I'm sure. I think I have the fabric for every single one of these projects already. So yes, but more on this later actually. But yeah, so the fabric for my kimono is going to be this beautiful viscose with Japan-like flowers on it. I really, really like it. And it's got it's actually a black background. So I think this is going to be perfect for spring, for work. For the Clio dress, I'm going to talk more about this later. I was about to cut into a fabric, and then another pattern came out, and so I realised this fabric was going to be perfect for that pattern, so I'm not going to use that. So I think I'm going to use a purple twill that I have. Yes, a purple twill that I have in my stash. Then I would like also to make the heather dress by Sew Over It London. And for this, I don't have the fabric here, but I have a gorgeous turquoise knit that would be perfect for this, I think. Of course, like many of us, I would like to make the ginger jeans this year. I mentioned this last year already, and I said I wanted to take my time for this project because my size was still fluctuating, and actually I'm still going to take a bit of time. I'm definitely going to be making this in the second half of 2018, the ginger jeans by Cascade Patterns, because some of you may have seen on Instagram that I have been struggling with my health. Just to be really fast about it, because I really don't want to talk much about it here, but yeah, they would really like me to actually put on a bit of weight, and so I'm thinking in that case I'm still going to wait a few months to make the ginger jeans in case I go up a size, really. Of course I want to make the LZ dress by Sew Over It London. That was one of my favourite patterns from last year, and I made the LZ skirt last year, but I have a gorgeous fabric already for the LZ dress, which is this gorgeous cotton sateen, black and white, with just a bit of stretch in it. I got it from Minerva Crafts fabric last summer, and then sadly by the time I had enough time to make it, the weather had turned and it was definitely not summer dress weather anymore. So that is definitely going to be one of my first projects for, definitely as soon as summer dress weather is on its way, I'm going to be making this, definitely. Then I would like to make a couple of pairs of ultimate trousers by Sew Over It. This is going to be one of my very next makes as well, because I actually cut out the pattern yesterday and pre-washed my fabric. So again, looks like it's going to be really fast actually. So I'm quite excited about this as well, to finally have a couple of pairs of handmade trousers in my wardrobe, even though I have to confess most of the time I'm wearing dresses. I just love wearing dresses. My 9th project was going to be the cinema dress by Lizzle, of the Oliver & Co. design company. But this has already changed because the Charlotte dress by Sew Over It just came out as their first PDF pattern of the year, and I completely fell in love with it. So I just know I will have to make this dress for the spring and summer as well. And it's quite similar in terms of style and shaping. And so, yes, I'm scratching the cinema dress for now, but I'll definitely be making the Charlotte dress by Sew Over It. And also Charlotte is a very dear name to my heart, because my grandmother, the one who inspired me to start sewing, who was a professional seamstress and was definitely one of the most wonderful person I ever met in my life. She was called Charlotte, and it's also my second name, and it's my daughter's second name as well. So yes, the Charlotte dress is going to be very special. And for this, I'm not quite sure yet what fabric I'm going to use. I do have a few contenders for this. But one contender is this lovely cotton lawn, but it's quite on the thicker side of cotton lawn, so it's definitely not see-through, by Soft Cactus Fabrics. So it has a navy blue black background, so I think that might be a nice option. It's going to be quite crisp and fresh. My 10th project is the Linden sweater by Grain Line Studio, same designer as the Cascade coat, but not at all same kind of project in terms of difficulty. The Linden sweater is a raglan sweater that I have had. I've been meaning to make it for a year, really, and again, the pattern is ready, cut out, and it's a very, very simple make as well. And for this I'm going to be using this cotton sweat shirt fabric. French dairy, I think you say. So yes, with dots, turquoise with dots, and for the ribbing I'm going to be using this one, which matches perfectly. So yes, everything ready, the fabric is pre-washed. I tend to pre-wash my fabrics as soon as they get through the door, actually, so that I know they're pre-washed and I can use them whenever I want. My 11th item is the Jolene dress by Ready to Sew. Ready to Sew is a French designer, but her designs, I believe, are, yeah, I think they're bilingual, French and English. She's a lovely person. And the Jolene dress is a gorgeous dress with a lovely, so it's a shirt dress with beautiful bodice with princess seams and ruffles at the garters at the seams, and it's so feminine and lovely. And again, that's one of the designs I've been meaning to make for a while. And lastly, I might like to make another cardigan, but this time in a quilted fabric, so a thicker cardigan. And so it's either going to be the Gilet Monceau by Cosy Little World, or the Gilet Cannelle by Christelle Benetou. So both are French designers. And for this I have a very, very special fabric, which was given to me last year by my friend Lise Taylor. Coucou Lise! When we met in Lyon last year, she actually handed this out to me as I was leaving. And it's a very, very special fabric, first of all, obviously, because it comes from her, but it's actually organic, very ethical cotton, quilted cotton. And so it's from a wonderful company in France, which is called Fil Éthique, which only has fabrics that are made in France, sourced from completely ethical materials, so and it's completely soft, so wonderfully soft, and the colour is really beautiful. So it's this very, very light silver. I just love it. So yes, so encore merci Lise. C'est vraiment un trésor. It's quite a treasure, and so I've been hoarding it in my stash, but I think this year is the year when it needs to be sewn up. And yeah, so actually this is something I wanted to talk about. I definitely want to be this year the year when I sew. First of all, I sew through my stash. As you can see, I have, fabrics for about all of these designs, and I really want to. I'm super motivated to be sewing from my stash this year. I don't mean this in a kind of constrictive way at all. I really want to, I just have such lovely fabrics and have plans for each of these fabrics most of the time, and I just want to turn them into garments. I'm super excited to be doing this, actually, and really I have this tendency of just hoarding some fabric, and I know a lot of us are the same with our yarn or our fabric, but just keeping it, for a special occasion, for this perfect garment or whatever. And I just don't want to do this anymore. And it's the case with this fabric. I just love this fabric, and it had been sitting around in my stash for a while because it's so very pretty. But then I thought, it's no use sitting around folded, instead of being transformed into a garment and worn and enjoyed. And so yeah, this is definitely the year when I'm going to proudly use and remorselessly cut through my pretty fabrics. I have a couple of other, 2 or 3 other beautiful jerseys in this kind of print, floral prints, really pretty, that I don't know, I've been saving for the Queen, I guess, but yeah, I think life is definitely too short not to enjoy our beautiful fabrics and stash, and instead of just keeping them safe. So yes, as I was mentioning, some of these plans have already changed because of some gorgeous patterns, the Charlotte dress that came out, and the other pattern that I really completely fell in love with is the Mille Dungarees, by Chili and the Buttons. And so yes, it's so funny because it came out on the day when I was cutting out my Clio pattern, and I had the fabric all ready for this, and it is this lovely cotton twill floral cotton twill with black background, and it's got a bit of stretch to it. So it's got a tiny bit of elastane to it, through it, okay? And you don't need the stretch for the Clio dress, but you do need it for the dungarees. And so when they came out, I just, you know, my eyes fell on this, and I just felt like I just couldn't cut it out, you know, cut the Clio into this anymore. And also I have the perfect yardage for the, it's 2 meters. You only need 1.5 meters for Clio, you need 2 meters for the Miller dungarees. So it's just, I think these two are meant to be together, don't you? The Miller dungarees and this fabric. I think it's going to make such beautiful dungarees. So I'm very excited about this. And actually Seb purchased the pattern for me as a little, you know, pick-me-up treat. So it's going to be, it should be arriving very soon. We ordered it the very day it actually, before it officially came out. You know, if you subscribed to the Tilly and the Buttons newsletter, you get this a bit ahead. So I ordered it, you know, we ordered it the very day it appeared in my mailbox, really. So yes, so that's definitely a plan that has changed. And yeah, I can also very much say already that the dungarees are definitely going to be something I will be sewing this year. So whether it's going to replace another item here or whether it's going to come as a 13th garment, I'm not sure, we'll see. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about them. Yeah, and one last note, yeah, that I wanted to mention, to go back to Vogue and, you know, Green Line Studio and all that kind of thing. As you can notice in my list, there is only one non-indie designed pattern, and it actually was the Vogue dress that I'm wearing. All of the others come from independent pattern designers. But yeah, what I wanted to mention is that I have to confess, I've been pretty underwhelmed by the patterns that have been published by the Big Four. And by Big Four I mean, you know, Vogue, McCall's, Butterick and Simplicity. I think now they're all into one big company. I think that they've just been merged all together. But I've been so underwhelmed, so disappointed by their collections, and it's been going on for a few years now. Apart from a few designs, for instance, the Vogue Spring collection just came out, and I really like one design in there, and I think it's really interesting and creative, even though you wouldn't wear it every day, but still, you know, but all the rest is just so déjà vu, you know. Yeah, I just wanted to say, really, I'm very, very grateful to the independent designers for pushing themselves constantly, for being so creative and offering us such a great choice. But also, again, you know, when I compare my Vogue coat with this coat, you know, in terms of the level of instructions, and Vogue to me is the best in terms of the big pattern companies. To me, they have the best patterns and they have the most details and the most couture things. And again, they do have this designer range that is lovely and has some lovely couture details, you know, designers that they invite to work for them. But when you look at their regular collection, you know, now that I have more experience, I'm very surprised with the way things are constructed. For instance, in this dress, I didn't mention this, but the way they have you construct the whole garment is not the way I did it, because you can be more efficient and I think have a nicer finish if you change the construction order. So yeah, it's just, you know, I was very, very grateful for the Big Four patterns when I started sewing, because basically that's all you had apart from Birdie patterns, and Birdie patterns are not for beginners because they have hardly any instructions. So their instructions for when I was a beginner were great, and they have lots of drawings, diagrams, so that's super helpful. But now that I've grown, and also now that we have so much more choice, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all these wonderful indie designers out there that work so hard and push themselves so much, are so demanding with themselves, so that we are happy and so that we can grow as well in our making, in our techniques. And I've learned so much thanks to the independent designers. This has taken me through a whole new level of sewing, really. So yeah, that was just I know I've been a bit negative about the big 4 companies, but really more above all, I just wanted to sing an ode to our wonderful independent designers. I think that is it for this episode, this sewing episode. I really want to come back soon for my knitting because I have loads to share with you. And loads to talk about, and that is also when I would like to talk about my word for 2018 and, you know, my approach to this year. But yeah, until I'm back, I do hope you enjoyed this sewing episode, and I do hope that January has been really kind to you. And so until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I hope your making brings you joy. Bye bye!